for inviting me. And also, I'm thankful to SPADE, Alumni Association of IIT Kharagpur, and also the another organizing agency, Rural Development Forum of the Institution of Engineers, of which I am also a member. I must uh, thank the organizers, especially the active organizers from SPADE, to provide us a unique opportunity to hear some of the very enriching lectures. Myself is enriched to hear on the last day and also today. Today, both the presentations gave me some clue. Technology for the unreached. What I understand that the technology should be an enabler, a kind of enabling technology for the persons, unfortunately, do not have access for use of the technology for their own benefit. Dr. Nitin Morjo mentioned about the Charka design concept, the 2 points which Mahatma Gandhiji was very careful about at that point of time. The cost is rupees 150. That means it should be affordable. The technology should be affordable. And the life is about 20 years. That means he also gave equal importance to the sustainability of the technology. It should serve the people for longer years, and it should be affordable for the people who are using that. He also mentioned a very important point that how we know what technology will be helpful for the unreached. So we have to spot a problem. That's important. We have to spot a problem. What problem is plaguing the unreached people? He was giving the example of one innovation from the salt pan. Now, salt pan, as he mentioned, that is an area where very, very poor people are working there, preparing salt for all of us in the country, also for export. Now, many of the salt pan workers work with barefoot, or they're exposed to the sand, they are exposed to the saline water, and if they have any cut, often it is found that their cut gradually develops into a kind of gangrene. And once the gangrene develops, many of them has to ampute their leg. And once you ampute your leg, then your mobility, your normal activity, everything is affected. Or we can take examples of truck drivers experiencing an accident, and in many of these situations, leg amputations are done. So that person is facing tremendous problem with the normal occupation that he or she was having. I will give you a case study how a technology was thought of. More important, our topic is policy and operation, how it has been put into operational mode so that it can be scaled up, so that it can be put to the benefit of maximum number of people. There was a person, I'll mention about that person. He was a Padma Bhushan Devendra Raj Mehta, DR Mehta is popularly known as. He was an IAS officer. He was former chairman of the Securities and Exchange Board of India. Now he met an accident. He was there in hospital. His leg was crushed. Doctors were thinking to save the leg or we have to amputate it, but fortunately his legs were saved. But he felt the pain of those who doesn't have normal leg because of amputation. So that exactly was the primary thought in his mind. And he was reading several books. One Nobel laureate, 1950s, Nobel Peace Prize, Albert Schweitzer. And one quotation from him, I have shared it in the chat, impressed him. Let us join the fraternity of those who bear the mark of pain. So that fascinated him. He felt the pain of somebody who doesn't have the leg and how he can do something for them. Parallelly, another development was going on. There was a craftsman in the SMS Medical College at Jaipur, Ram Charan Sharma. He was making the polio calipers. Then the orthopedic surgeon of the same medical college, Dr. P.K. Sethi, he was guiding him about the anatomical details. He was guiding him that what type of system should be comfortable, what type of gait the leg should have. So all these details Ram Charan Sharma got from Dr. P.K. Shetty, and they built some samples of prosthetic food. You know, Jaipur food is a prosthesis. So they built up some of the prosthetic food, and it is the story of around 1968-69 until 1975, about 50 prosthesis was done. It caught the attention of Dr. D.R. Mehta, as I mentioned earlier. Later on, he was awarded the Padma Bhushan. He picked it up. He picked up the technology. Then he thought that let us make a society. And he mentioned that I am going to provide this Jaipur food free of cost. And the quality should also be phenomenally good. And till that time, in 1975, he formed the society Bhagavan Mahabir Bikalang Sahayata Samiti, because that was the 2500 years of the Nirvana of Bhagavan Mahabir, the preacher of Jainism. So he established the society in the name of Bhagavan Mahabir Bikalang Sahayata Samiti, and rest is simply a history. Then he thought that 50 within last 5 years, this kind of scale just will not be working, because there are lakhs of people who need this kind of prosthesis at an affordable cost. So he thought that, can you not have the cheapest kind of prosthesis? Prostheses were available, most of them were imported, and that was beyond the reach, or especially economically beyond the reach of most of the person who are having this kind of amputation and the disabilities. So he found that many people started coming to the Jaipur to get their prosthesis called Jaipur Fit. The persons who are coming, they have the disability of amputation, but they have other disabilities, serious disabilities. Most of them are illiterate, and most of them are extremely poor. They were poor, most of them. Subsequently, when the leg amputation and gradual healing was occurring for a few months in the hospital, their all finances were dwindled, and they are having a lot of financial problems. So he thought, we need to have three kinds of rehabilitation for this person. Obviously, physical rehabilitation. Then can we not also think a kind of economical and social rehabilitation for them as well? So people used to come. Already there is a model developed of the Jaipur Fit. The technology was gradually being more sophisticated, more perfected, but at that point of time also Jaipur Fit was a perfect fit. Hearing about the Jaipur Fit and the philanthropy he is giving free of charge to the persons who are coming for this prosthesis, many people used to visit them. It is from researchers, doctors, statesmen, politicians, everybody. And one day, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, he was with the Defense Metallurgical Research Laboratory, a senior scientist at that time. He also visited the center. He has experienced himself the Jaipur food, but to him it appeared that, okay, it is very heavy. Oh my God, it is so heavy. Can we not make it much lighter, which will help this person? We have all the technology in our Defense Metallurgical Research Laboratory. Why not we work together and do it? Yes, the Defense Laboratory came into fold. They developed this fabulous carbon fiber shank to be manufactured. Then good type of food design with rubber, nano carbon rubber. So all kinds of most sophisticated design were made. It was presented to Dr. D.R. Mehta so that it can be adopted for the Jaipur Fit. But with this new kind of sophistication from Defense Metallurgical Research Laboratory, the cost was coming to be about 30,000 rupees. And D.R. Mehta pondered about it. He told that I should actually fit it with 2,000 rupees. I will fit it for 15 persons instead of giving one high-end prosthesis to one guy. So I will save 15 lives rather than saving one life. So fortunately or unfortunately, this technology was not picked up by this Bikalang Sahayata Samiti. It is there as a showcase technology lying in the Defense Metallurgical Research Laboratory, is used for many other purposes, but not for this prosthesis of Jaipur Fit. Now, once these people used to come, the important aspect is that they have been taken, then exact plaster cast was made of the stump which is remaining after the amputation, then a knee cast, then there is the thermoplastic PVC it is to put, and ultimately we is to get a kind of perfect food which will feed to the person. it is a great example of customization. What used to, and not only that, once the person used to come, they used to get the prosthesis, and within the same day, the person will be walking out of the Bikalang Sahayata Samiti. And not only that, to help their social and economic rehabilitation, they have been given a kind of, let's say, a tea stall kit is given, or a sewing machine is giving a little bit of training to the female patients. So what is indicated here, that not only physical rehabilitation, but for the unreached, Dr. Mehta Sahib also thought about their social and economic rehabilitation. I'm not going into much details, but they had all these laser guided technologies where exact kind of measurements were taken, so that after this process is given to those person, they can wear it very, very comfortably. There are prostheses which are available from foreign. You can order them. It comes under medium, small, XL, XXL, L, all this size. And we can understand the situation that whenever you have a small or L or XL, depending on your size, it will always be a little bit of misfit. Whatever sizes you can, there will be slight kind of a kind of variation of exact the size and shape of your stamp and whatever you are buying. So you get source on your stamp, then there will be kind of sole and stamp, and people will not be using the processes anymore. So this is what is understood, that customization was so important, and customization was done. People were using it very, very comfortably. And modern day, whatever marketing, what we find, you order and it is given to you. It's a reverse marketing. It's not that the product will go to you. The customer has to come here to the Jaipur, to the particular center, to get your product made for you, customize and do it. And Dr. Mehta Sahib thought that this is the only way. Unless we have the customization, it is really not going to help them. And again, the salt pen worker can go out, because it was made of such a material which is totally sealed, water resistant, chemical resistant. So they can again go to the agricultural field for working. They can go again to the salt pan for their normal work. After these processes, they have got it from the Jaipur. And also you can walk barefoot. That means you can visit a mosque, you can visit a temple, visit a church, where perhaps with shoes or with slippers, you will not be allowed to enter. So it's kind of rehabilitation to their normal life. And the customization is very important, as we are today celebrating the birthday of Mahatma Gandhi ji. The famous song which Mahatma Gandhi ji used to have a lot of fascination of, Vaishnava Janako Janato Tene Kahire Pira Padaye Janere. That means a good man is one who senses the pain of others. This is the man I have given example of, who understood the pain and took all kinds of initiative to take it to the actually suffering people. And we can see today it is one of the nicest innovation that we find in India for the unreached people. I think Dr. Rajeshwar Misra ji also mentioned about the solar lamp project, which Dr. Chetan Solanki presented. This is also another nice case study. You know, India government is trying to have a right to education, but unless you have all good kind of teacher, the quality kind of teaching, these dropouts are happening, especially in the village level, also for economic condition. But it has been found that lack of availability of electricity is another problem. So that dropouts are occurring, people are having no means to study beyond their working hours in the evening. So what is thought, government also thought, can you not distribute the solar lamps to all these villages which are devoid of regular electricity connections? But they have done, it's a buy, they are buying from one vendor and distributing it or selling it. The product becomes expensive because buying it from some place, transporting it and selling it. And moreover that there is hardly any technical support available near the beneficiaries in the villages. Sometimes the lamp may not be working because a small fuse may have to be changed. The soldering might have come out. A very simple thing. Okay, so but You don't have any manpower, any technical support in the villages. So all these programs didn't last long. I was mentioning that they proved not to be sustainable because the technical support was not there and the people were unable to afford to buy a new kind of solar lamp. They were not having that kind of a wealth or resources with them. And when you are there is 500 houses or 600 houses, you distributed 600 of them, and the 600 first 601 house, 602 house, if they want to have another lamp because they have seen the benefit that their neighbors are getting, you don't get the 1 or 2 lamps in any shop near the villages. So this program was not scaled up and was not becoming sustainable. So again, the solar lamp program or any project for the benefit of the unreached must be affordable, must be the availability is important, and repairability is important. So they took up a project from IIT Bombay, which they call SOUL, Solar Urja Lamp Project. The innovations were done by them in the technological aspect. The technology was simple, it is open source, it is available in their website. But what they have done, some innovation at the societal level. They created a central charging station in each village. People will be bringing their solar lamp every morning, and they'll be taking it back in the evening. Throughout the day, it will be charged, and it is on rent. They have to give a rent to that person who is managing the charging station. So it's a win-win situation for them. Then there is the lamp. You need about 150 lux of light for good study, good reading. But all the time you are not studying it. The same solar lamp can be used for varieties of household purposes. So they have different kinds of mode to operate the solar lamp. High mode for study, low mode it can operate for 10-12 hours. Throughout the night they are keeping the lamp open in their villages. That is helping them to avoid snake bite. That is helping them even in the odd hours to go to the fields. They are helping them in the odd hours to attend to the delivery of child or for going to the cremation. Every way this is helping. So it's all purpose lamp which has been designed by IIT Bombay. But again the issue was coming, how it can be made repairable, how it can be made available to all the villages. So they used to take up about few blocks. There are 500 or 50 or 100 villages in a block. They targeted the students. They used to go to the school. There are posters in the walls of the school that this kind of lamps are going to help them. The cost they kept very, very small. They developed a training program where village level workers have been trained to repair it. Not only to repair it, even to make the entire solar lamp. They will be trained to check whether the circuit is working or not. They will be checking whether the battery is really charging or not, the panel is serving or not, battery is giving power or not, everything, soldering, all kinds of training are given to not so much skilled people, and it has been done. So gradually their SOUL program has been changed, what they call now SOULs, and S is added, Solar Urja through localization for sustainability. Localization, they have localized the manufacturing, fabrication, they localize the marketing, they localize the repair, as well as the sustainability is ensured. And now they are doing it in, I think, many blocks and villages of the country. They have more than, I think, 6 million already has been distributed, and more than 7,000 people have been trained. Many of them started their solar shop, and they are serving the villagers who are going to have this. So I think this is also another example where a need is felt, a problem is spotted, and a different kind of operational policy has been framed, which is really serving it to scale it up and reaching to many persons. When we talk of the unreached person, this unreached person may be somebody who doesn't have good quality water to drink, which is very essential for survival, to live a healthy life. Many government initiatives develop a lot of arsenic removal technology, fluoride removal technology, put to the use in the villages. If you go to different states, we can mention different states. I have the experience of visiting different states for evaluation of them. Most of the government installed community level treatment, the water treatment devices are not functioning beyond 1 year, 2 years, 3 years maximum. But you see there are examples which some of the institutions have been done. They are working for 15 years, even for 12 years, even for 6 years in different parts, either for arsenic or fluoride removal technology. The importance of the factor which help this is we should put the people, the community, the beneficiaries into fold to designing the system. Design means the implementation of the system should be planned taking the community or beneficiaries, which Mahatma Gandhi ji has took the entire country with him, with his message, with his ideology. And so therefore, this is also another kind of message that the planning should be from bottom to top up, not from top to bottom down. That is not going to help. The unreached people will be benefited very, very temporarily, and which was not the objective to put all the labor, all the money for the technology to serve the community people. I think,
Sorry.
3 minutes.
No, you have crossed already 5 minutes, but if you want 3 minutes, you take 2 minutes.
2 minutes, okay.
Yes.
And we know that there is a program of government of India. Every household should be given with a LPG connection. Now, LPG connection is not really affordable for villagers who are at a very, very poor economic strata. We have seen in Manbajar, where Rural Development Forum had worked, they are all going to the jungles, collecting dry leaves and maybe the woods and using them. Lot of dust, lot of smoke, creating their health problem. So Rural Development Program has done in 50 households in Manbajar block in Purulia district of West Bengal, where smokeless chula has been given. Technology is a simple little bit of conversion of the traditional chula that they are using, but somebody has to take it forward, and technology is not really a problem. So some of the examples have been given. I can give another different type of example. In our mobile phone, if Dr. Rajesh Sharma so allows, maybe I will exceed by 1 minute, but a different kind of example of policy and operation. Please be allowed to exceed by 1 minute. We are using the lithium-ion battery. The mobile phone, the laptops that you are using. This is a very, very boon to all of us to make the technology very small, because the batteries of small size gives you a lot of power output. And one of the major ingredient of this lithium-ion battery is cobalt, because they are using cobalt cathode, and cobalt is not available in many countries. One of the major supplier of cobalt is one of the poorest country of the world, that is Congo in Africa. They are having the cobalt veins. Now, local people, the children, the women, the male folk, about several thousands of them, 10,000 workers, 1 lakh workers, going several feet down the ground to have there with the hand-driven machines to take out cobalt, without any protective clothing, without any equipment, without any safety measures. And they are having their life at risk. Mine collapse, landslide, underground fire are taking a lot of lives. So what is being done? These Congo mines most of the smaller mines in Congo are owned by a Chinese company, which belongs to the Zhengfang Huao Cobalt, the largest producer in the world. So in Washington Post, one news has come out that companies like the renowned companies as Apple, they are sourcing cobalt from this company of China, who are sourcing the cobalt from Congo, and Congo minimum safety measures are not being taken when the local people are giving $2, $3 per day to mine cobalt with hand-driven machines. So now Apple, with this kind of public opinion, they have decided in 2017 that they will be more careful. They have promised to clean up its supply chain. That means the cobalt or any kind of mineral they are used, they should be machine mined, not exploiting human kind of vulnerability, economic vulnerability to mine this cobalt. Why I am giving that last example? There are other revenues coming up throughout the world. They are called eco levels. Whether your raw material is ecologically in a sustainable way it has been mined or not. So there are other avenues how policy and operation can be thought of, so that the technology is really reaching the unreached. A better technology mining should reach the workers of Congo mines. Otherwise, their health will not be protected. They will remain, in our term, unreached. Thank you very much. Thank you for giving me time, extra time. Thank you.